Recently, my birthday was in December. It's a truly horrific month to have a birthday as a child, having both to bribe the parents and that fat guy who carries around a blacklist, which I was certainly on. But hey, now, as an adult, it's awesome, because I got the bestest wife in the whole damn world who got my pliers for both my birthday and for Christmas. Knipex Pliers to boot. Of course, I did need to subtly hint the 7-digit product codes to her, but man, was it worth it. Hold on tight, buckle up for a good and thorough plier spur out. I've been messing with you. These are not my new pliers. These are the ones that are being replaced. Let me tell you what my criteria was, and hopefully you find that useful, and let's begin. These are chrome-plated. The new pliers I got are not chrome-plated. I'm really skeptical about chrome now. When I got these ages ago, 10 years ago or more, I thought chrome anti-rust fantastic, great. But you know, chrome does come with its disadvantages. Its advantage is that, well, it gives a modicum of rust resistance. You know, you leave these out in the yard overnight, they're going to get all fucked up anyways, even though they're chrome plated. It'll give a little bit of rust resistance, but not a terrible amount. However, it comes with a cost. The chrome plating is put on after the bevels of these cutting surfaces or the teeth of these gripping jaws have been laid down, and the chrome tends to round over things. German Tools Reviews channel, fantastic channel. I'm really sad that he's no longer making videos. If in case he is ever listening to this one, I hope that you get back on track, and I want to see more of your videos. He did a fantastic one where he looked at chrome-plated dikes, and what was found very clearly, he used a durometer that measures the actual amount of force needed to cut wire, that these chrome-plated pliers, they rounded over the jaws, and it ended up resulting in more force needing to be exerted. Yeah, chrome, I think it's cosmetic. Maybe you think otherwise. If you do, let me know in the commentitos down below. I tend to agree with that German Tools Reviews fella. Just anecdotally, these toothy jaws, these tooths, they're slippery. They feel rounded over when I go over them with my fingernail. So my new pliers, I decided to forego the chrome plating. I think it's a vanity item. It's a little bit more expensive too, so save a couple bucks. Well, the next difference between my new ones and these old ones is that I decided against these ergonomic handles. And so far as these ergonomic handles are concerned, I quite like Knipex. They're not bad. Like, what I like about them is that they do offer a bit of grippiness. They get a little bit more of a surface area so that you can get maybe a little bit of a tighter grip. They're smooth. They don't get filthy dirty. These pliers, they should be filthy dirty, but they're relatively clean. I think that's a nice thing. Like, it takes nothing to wipe them off. Some of these soft finishes, they really grime up easily, and Knipex doesn't do that. Nonetheless, I decided against these ergonomic grips. Why did I do that? A couple of reasons. First of all, they tend to get in the way. You take a look at this little needle nose pliers, and the whole point is to get it into narrow areas, and look at these big ass shoulders on it. It just gets in the way. If you got arthritic hands, maybe it allows you to get a little bit better griposity, yeah, perhaps. But you know, I'm not that old to have that problem, at least not yet. They're nice, but I do tend to like the vinyl coated pliers. I do think that it makes it a little bit more of a svelte package, and you know, these take up a shitload of space. You put them in your cabinet and side by side, and they just fill up the space really quickly. So I went away from chrome, and I went away from these fancy schmancy ergonomic grips, back to basics. Now, further than that, these are some bloody expensive pliers. They're lovely pliers, but I was finding that I just wasn't reaching for them. I was going for my other pliers, including these cheap-ass Crescent branded. I just found them to be more useful. Other times I would go and I'd grab some larger pipe wrench type pliers like this, or I'd go for these screw pliers. I just wasn't reaching for these. I had to sit and think about it, and think about it as to what exactly it was what these existing pliers, even as nice as they were, that they just weren't meeting my needs. What was it? Well, I figured out a few things. First of all, let's start with these needle nose, or long noses they're called by Knipex. What's the purpose of long nose pliers? Well, it's nuance. It's getting into small areas, doing detailed work, being able to flip them around in your hands, stuff like that. Well, what I don't like about them is that those jaws are huge. They're like, what is that, about 6 millimeters across from one side to the other. I'm finding that I'm reaching for my fancy pliers, like these Arum pliers, which are really, really sweet pliers. Very, very nice for detailed work, but I am busting up these jaws, and I don't like that. I'm marking them up because I'm grabbing these and I'm using them for purposes that, well, they're not really meant for. These are delicate pliers. They're for electronics and stuff. I need something that's a little bit more delicate than these, but a little bit more, well, I'm not going to be too concerned about, like, busting up and grabbing something really tight. That's the reason why I tend to use these Crescent pliers a lot. They have these nice, lovely, fine pointed jaws. Just take a look at that. There they go. Take a look at that. And you can see these Crescent pliers are much, much finer. So anyways, these Knipex, I just never use them. They're not detailed enough. They don't get into tight areas. I thought that these ones here might be, well, the right thing for that sort of a job, for getting into tight areas. But you know, that chrome plating, these things, they don't grab onto anything worth shit. Just here, look at my grab onto my thumbnail. No matter how tightly I grip it, it just slips off. A couple times I tried fishing bolts out of deep holes and getting some other access to tough areas, and these things suck. I just, let me know in the comments if you found otherwise, but I was not impressed. I really think it's much better to just get a magnet tool, or one of those squeezy jaw grabber things. I got one right here. One of these eyeball pluckers. Go right for your eyeball. Yeah, I just wasn't very impressed with these. So, what did I get to replace these, which still is Knipex? Well, why not? And again, no chrome anymore, and instead it has plain vinyl handles. I got telephone pliers. I'm not quite sure why they're called telephone pliers, but they are significantly better in my opinion. Take a look at the dimensions compared to these needle nose. The telephone pliers come to a much, much finer point. It's somewhere in between the regular long nose and these I think they're called snipe nose. That's what Knipex calls them. Long little tweezer type things. Anyways, these they're long and skinny, and the jaw tips go down to about 2 millimeters in diameter, which I really appreciate. These, without those big, bulky handles, even though they're larger, they feel more svelte and more flexible, and they're just way more agile in the hand. Yeah, I think I'm going to like these a lot more. Another thing about these that are pretty good, the Knipex literature says that they have a diagonal jaw pattern. It's not really the case. It's a horizontal jaw pattern, and it then has some diagonals put into it. It's not really a crosshatch type of a pattern. That's good for grabbing things from all different angles, as opposed to their standard long nose pliers, which have just these transverse ridges. These transverse ridges, they're good for grabbing things and pulling outwards, but it's just long nose. It's nuance. You're not looking for maximum griposity with these. You just want to like manipulate the little things and not destroy them pretty much, and grab onto them reasonably well, unlike these things that they suck at that purpose. The telephone pliers are one replacement for, hopefully, one replacement for two. We'll see. I'll put those sideboards. Next up, I had these a long time ago thinking that they would be fantastic for grabbing things and yanking. They got a little bit of a better leverage. They got a shorter jaw, so you're going to get a lot tighter of a gripping force. But they're not terribly long. These are the 160 variety, under 16 centimeters, a little bit more than 6 inches. But why I didn't really like these for grabbing things is, well, they're very blunt. And if you're trying to grab something, that blunt end, you can't see what the heck it is that you're grabbing. Also, the end is square and flat and big. So if you want to grab some sort of little tiny thing like a little nubbin, but you got to grab it really good and tight, it takes a little bit of thought and preparation to get these pliers just down just right where you can finally clamp down and yank it out. Yeah, these have to be my least used pliers for those reasons. They're not fantastic for that purpose. So what I got instead of these is I got assembly pliers. Again, with the normal vinyl grips. They have a flat end. Sometimes they're called duckbill pliers. I'm not sure whether they're really duckbill because they don't extend out wider at the tips than on the sides. But they're wide nose. But compared to these, the jaw tips come to a much finer size, thickness, and check that out. There's a little bit of a camber to the jaw. So I figured these would allow much easier to get down to your whatever it is that you need to yank, grab it, and yank it up. Something like that. Additionally, without the chrome plating, these teeth just to my thumbnail, I can really feel the difference compared to these. These are just so much more soft, rounded over, and a lot less gripping ability. And now on top of all of that, these have some really good mechanical advantage. They're 8 inches in length, they're 200 millicentimeters. They're good length for getting that mechanical advantage, and the jaw length is relatively short. So these are my new grabbers. And in addition to these, if these weren't enough, I did get their finer duty ones that have the pointed jaws, but otherwise the similar mechanical advantage and the similar sort of construction. Very, very nice. I think if you were looking for yourself a pair of long nose pliers, if you like these telephone pliers, fine. But you know, if you can only afford one set of Knipex pliers, I believe that these assembly pliers with the fine nose, yeah, that might serve all of your needs, really. These don't have quite as fine of a nose as these telephone pliers. Not quite as fine, but they're not bad. They're comparable to most long nose pliers that I've seen. So anyway, there's a few replacements. And next up are the dikes. I got a small pair of dikes, and I got a large pair of dikes. You know, you got the finesse here, and then you got the, well, some a little bit more heavy-duty sort of an action. But I, again, found I was just not reaching for these things. First of all, the fine action Knipex, what are they? They're the 125 standard diagonal cutter type things. They just weren't fine enough for me. I just found I wasn't grabbing these. I was instead, once again, going to my beautiful Arum pliers, which I really got a baby because these things are really nice. These are for fine electronic types of works. But why I was grabbing these instead of these is these are flush cutting. They're flush cutting. The standard Knipex, they're able to handle a lot thicker diameter of a wire to cut, but that bevel there, it just doesn't allow you to get close to what it is that you want to actually cut. So I was just always reaching for my expensive, nice, lovely, but I don't want to do that. They got to save these for special occasions. These languished in my cupboard. So I got to rethink these. And what I came up with are these for electromechanicals. I really don't understand what Knipex's logic is for their naming system. They seem to have roughly the same specifications. These are also 125. Again, that vinyl handle, you can see right here just how much smaller they are is really good for the, I just find it for the manipulating in your hand and getting it into odd locations, whatever. These big handles, they're overkill in my opinion. Anyways, these new electromechanical pliers, they do make a standard dike type of a head, but these ones I got, they got a pointed end, and it allows it to get in tighter areas. Also, it is semi-flush. It's not full flush, but it's semi-flush, which I think is an advantage because it gets most of the way there, but I don't have to baby them. Like, they are still rated to cut piano wire, at least small diameter piano wires. These could be some rough and tumble, yet able to do finesse as well. So yeah, I quite like these things. Yeah, I just never really used them. In that chrome plating, it does round over their jaws. Yeah, next up is I had these, which are their, what's their X-cut, I think they call them. Their key characteristic is that they got the box joint, which is supposedly able to make the jaw stronger, and the fulcrum gets closer to the base of the jaws, which allows it to get better mechanical advantage, and it's supposed to get, I don't remember how many friggin' percent more leverage it's supposed to get, but it's supposed to be able to cut stuff tougher. Well, definitely you can see that these little dikes that it is a fair bit bigger. Yeah, they're not bad, but you know, I used them a bunch of times, and I was just like, you know, I need to cut tougher things. These things were like, despite these ergonomic grips, it was a no-go, and I'd end up reaching for the CoBolts, which are pretty good. These CoBolts are able to go through pretty much anything. But look at the size of the head. These things, not flush cutting, but they get pretty close. They get much of the way there. The CoBolts get none of the way there whatsoever. So I was thinking that these dikes could be improved upon. And of course, Knipex just have the right thing for that job. TwinForce. TwinForce, the whole point of this is that it has 2 pivot points that makes the effective fulcrum almost right up at the corner of these jaws. Basically, these dikes have about as much mechanical leverage as the CoBolts. However, they're much better at getting close to wherever it is that you need to lop something off. So these definitely replace the X-Cuts, and in my opinion, they come pretty close to replacing the CoBolts. The only thing the CoBolts have is they have a longer length, so they're going to get more. You can get more leverage compared to these. But weight for weight, these TwinForce are light and svelte, and they're really, you can put them in their pocket and forget about it. Yeah, so heavy duty. No more tiny CoBolt. Well, that's my birthday. That's Christmas. And on my own money, since I no longer really need the CoBolts, what am I going to replace these with? Bigger CoBolts. These are the 25 centimeter ones as opposed to the 20 centimeter ones. They're pretty similar, roughly. However, these ones are going to have a lot more mechanical advantage. And also, they do have 2 different varieties, one of which has the cutting jaws go all the way to the pivot point, or where it opens. These ones have the thigh gap, which allows you to get slightly higher diameter items close to the pivot point so that you can cut those a little bit more effectively. I thought that was a nice touch. It'll make these capable, just much more capable than my original ones. So, those are my new Knipex pliers. Hope that you enjoyed this spur goat. And just to finish up, how do you pronounce this damn name? You know, some people say Knipex, some people say Knipex. There's actually a video put out by the manufacturer on how to call these pliers. Fuck it. Take my advice. You call them skinny dip pliers. Anyways, thanks for watching. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.